Hi, I'm Francesco Garripoli, and I welcome you to this wonderful course, Heart Resonance, here at Community Awake. You know, this course was probably the one I've been waiting for the most. And you see, there's lots of courses at Community Awake right now. They're all important. Each one of them is a critical part of our development, learning about meditation, learning about Qigong, learning about ourselves and transformation. But Heart Resonance, to me, is the key. You know, it's the key that opens the lock of everything. It opens the lock of our breath. When our heart isn't activated, when we're not in the resonance of heart space, we can't get a full breath. When we're not in our heart space, when we don't resonate at that heart vibration, our Qigong is empty movements. So what is heart resonance? You know, where does that take us? You'll see there's lots of lessons in this course that will help you explore through guided meditations. But I want to talk right now a little bit about that feeling. You know, what does that mean, heart resonance? I mean, we're so hypnotized and conditioned to think about the heart, right? We've got heartbreak and heartache and someone stole my heart and all these kinds of images that anthropomorphize this thing we call heart. And heart certainly isn't just the vibrating muscle in our chest. It's one aspect of heart. But when you see I put a lowercase h when I talk about the physical heart and the capital H when I speak of heart as energy. And that's what this heart resonance is really about. Yes, it's about heart health. If you came here for heart health, most likely heart issues and even emotional issues around the heart deal with the vibrational energy of the heart, the energetic aspect of the heart. And you might not want to agree with this so easy, but the heart doesn't break and no one can steal it. The heart doesn't get hurt. But you say, well, of course, Francesco, you have no idea. Trust me. I've had a lot of experiences about what I felt was aching and hurting around the heart. But what I realized was it wasn't the heart that was at issue. It was the energetic field around it, the heart resonance that wasn't resonating at that vibration at heart chi. Sometimes we talk about spirit chi, or in the ancients called Shen Qi. The Shen Qi is that energetic spirit field around us through which heart Qi vibrates. It's hard to explain in logical terms because the heart requires us to disengage with two aspects of our mind. Many of you know about my model of mind and consciousness, where there is survival mind, intellectual mind, and intuitive mind. Three aspects, three bandwidths of our consciousness, of our awareness. Heart only vibrates. Heart resonance only exists in the intuitive mind space. So if you try to attach heart to the intellectual mind, you might get the hallmark version of the heart. If you attach the heart resonance to the survival mind, you'll get all the heartbreak and heartache and roller coaster emotions. But that's not the heart we're talking about. Those are conditioned, epigenetic, socialized views of heart. Even the Greeks, 2,600 years ago, knew that love couldn't be described one way. They had actually 8 words for love. They were talking about heart resonance. They were talking about the love that was at the vibration of heart space. This is the place of presence. This is the place of the intuitive mind. Heart is the vibration that we feel when we are not attached to something or some place. It's not the survival mind of the pain and emotions. That's what we've been conditioned to attach to the heart. The intellectual view of the heart. Well, I have to love that person because they're the right person for me, or I have to have a loving mindset because it's the right thing to do. Those are all intellectual minds, games we play about heart resonance. The only time we ever heal is when we get to that place where we realize it's not a survival thing, it's not an intellectual thing, it's something I know on a deeper, deeper level. That's the heart resonance. When we can love at that place, the Greeks talked about this kind of love. They talked about agape. This is a love that's much bigger than things, bigger than us. But they had other kinds of love, eros, right, the sensual, sexual love. They had philia, which is friendship love. These are all aspects of heart resonance, of love. But the Greeks never defined the purest sense of love because it was beyond words. Check it out. You'll be fascinated. The Greeks only had those 8 aspects of heart resonance. They never talked about the purest place. Because as they say in Taoism, the Tao that you can describe is not the Tao. Okay? The love that you can speak about in intellectual terms is not describing the heart. So all we're doing in heart resonance here is trying to get us in a direction where we can go into that nonverbal place and feel and sense what it means to be in heart space. Okay. You can talk about it, you can try to write it down, you can describe it, but you'll always be on the periphery until that moment comes where you are absolutely immersed in presence. Heart doesn't know about love that you had 2 years ago, love that you might have tomorrow. Heart resonance is all about this moment. So if you are not in this moment, trust me, you are not in heart resonance. Now you might want to disagree with that. Of course, I loved a lot and I'm still in love with... No. You're attaching probably survival and intellectual mind thinking to those past and future events or ideas until we can bring it into this place of presence, till we could bring it into this moment right now. You're not in the vibration of heart resonance because you know what that feels like. I know what that feels like. When I'm in that place where I only feel this moment, when I only sense this presence, guess what happens? The future and past fold into this moment. Every external bit of duality folds into the singularity of this moment. Granted, it's not easy to be in that place or to stay in that place for too long, but this is where we must get to transform. Because at the core of heart resonance is the true and permanent transformation of how we look at the world, and how we look at the world, our worldview, defines the world that we view. This is Philosophy 101. I remember learning that in my first year of philosophy, and it was mind-blowing that my beliefs, the concepts I hold, define the world around me. They don't just describe it, they define it. They define my actions, my choices, everything that I do to interact with the world. And guess where that comes from? Heart resonance. We're either in it, you see me hold my hand a lot of times like this, that represents being in heart resonance, being in presence, being in this moment completely, as much as I can, to immerse in this moment. That's when we tap into the intuitive mind. That's when all of a sudden, intellect is out-intellectualized by the intuitive mind. Survival mind is out-survivable by the intuitive mind. The intuitive mind is that place where we connect into the Akasha. And the only place we can really activate intuitive mind is in heart resonance. You'll see in these lessons, there's a lot of insight and exercises and ways to point you into sustaining that moment of heart resonance. For most of us, it happens all the time. To be human is to know heart resonance. Problem is, it's a very temporal event. It comes and it goes, many times by accident, many times by eros, through sensual love, or philia, through friendship love, or agape, those big loves. Sometimes it will pass through those moments into a true sense of heart resonance, and then it's gone. Because no one ever trained us how to access and sustain heart resonance. And that's what this course is about. It's about challenging you to have the courage. Because remember, courage comes from the Latin word cor. Courage, cor means heart. The ancients knew the heart at some level was the key to getting us into our transformed state of being. And all those 8 different ways to describe love were just walking around the perimeter and not getting at the core of what it means to heal. What do you mean heal? Well, I believe that heart resonance is the key to all healing, whether it's physical, psychosocial, emotional, spiritual, all kinds of healing. Any aspect of healing is really the same healing. When we hurt ourselves on a physical level, it's just a metaphor many times. Even though it could be a broken bone or a disease state, it's still a pointer to an emotional state. When we think our heart is attached to emotions, then we've made the mistake to think our heart is the cause, or maybe not engaged at all. So whether you feel like your heart is hurting or that your heart is nowhere to be found, it's 2 aspects of the same coin. To understand that the heart is the immutable energy of presence. Your heart is your pathway to your intuitive mind. Your heart has nothing to do with attached or needy love, whether it's about yourself or another person or thing. The one love that the Greeks did point to, agape, which is the love that's actually the translated word that we use in the Bible and in the Koran, and lots of words that were attached to love, was a love that was bigger than duality, bigger than things, bigger than people. It was a love that attached us into this infinite consciousness. And when we remember that we are infinite consciousness, knowing ourself through this human experience, wow, that's a big thing. And I say it a lot. So we hear it over and over again. We are infinite consciousness, knowing itself through our unique personal experience. And how can you know that other than the 5 senses? How can you know it other than the survival mind? How can you know it other than the intellectual mind? You know it by being in intuitive mind's heart resonance space. In that space, you can cultivate your intuition. You cultivate your connection to all things. You cultivate the clarity of your pathway to infinite consciousness. And you think, well, that sounds like really impractical stuff. Well, trust me, being in heart space is the most practical place to be. It's the least airy-fairy thing you could ever do. It's so far from the normal New Age way of thinking, trust me, because it takes you out of survival mind. It takes you out of intellectual mind. It takes you out of all the games of manifestation, of duality and things, and it puts you in a place of resonance, heart resonance. In that vibratory space, your Wei Qi field, the Shen Qi spirit field, that is, yes, in part, generated from the electrical vibration of the heart. But it's also about a concept that you hold and a belief that you hold that you are more than your physical body. That this physical body is only a window into your energetic spirit body. And to sustain that, we need to do whatever we can to come into a place where you recognize heart resonance, where you get to know it so deeply that you can say, I'm in it, I'm out of it. You know, I'm in it, I'm out of it. It's like a gauge, and you know it. Everyone knows this. But you might deflect it and say, well, my heart's broken because he did this to me, or she did this to me, or my heart's broken because the government did this, or somebody did this, or my dog did this, you know. This is the game we play to deflect from being in our heart resonance, because when we come back to this place of presence, those outside things play very little role on who you are as a loving, centered, heart-centered being. All of a sudden, you realize, wow, it's not about that person, that place, that dog, that government. It can't be. It was my perspective of it, my attachment to it, how it triggered something in me that kept me from my heart. Okay? And this is a beautiful thing. You'll learn a little bit about the pericardium. We talk about that a few times in this course, where we have the heart at the core, the physical heart. We also have the pericardium, peri, around the heart. It's a physical thing. It's a membrane that protects the heart, keeps the liquids and temperature normalized in the physiological heart. It's also symbolic of the protective field we hold around our heart. Many of us never approach the core heart resonance. We play around the periphery. We play in our pericardium space. And this is why we're constantly bouncing off the heart and blaming other people. This is why we can't accept many times self-love. Much easier to do things for other people, much things to love other people. It's much easier to go outward than to receive love and accept love. The only way you can do that is to remove the identity of self as an individual separate from the world and see through that heart resonance, through that place of presence, how connected you are to everything and how everything reflects what you hold about love and heart resonance. Now, I define love, again, different than Hallmark. I mentioned Hallmark before because that's just the kind of mass media view of love. You know, the little one-liner on a card you send to somebody once a year to say, happy birthday, I love you, or happy Valentine's Day, I love you. This is the curse that we've been conditioned with, to channel love into a very specific delivery system. Love is a constant, minute-by-minute, breath-by-breath experience. And love simply means, in the ancient context, what the Greeks would never define, but they knew at the deepest level, love simply means where I place my heart-centered focus. Love means where I place my heart-centered focus. It's not about romance, certainly not about attachment. It's not about yesterday, it's not about tomorrow. Because I can only place my focus in this moment on a point of attention. That's love. Now, there's no emotion around that, so you might not like it. You might like the romantic view of it. You'll be trapped forever. You might not like this idea of focus because it sounds kind of so scientific. No, it's not scientific at all. It's actually so deep in your being, because think of it, where you place your focus is the most precious gift you have, because it's the only thing you own. You don't own this body comes and goes. You don't own the things around you, they're temporal, they're in constant decay. But what you own is your ability to place your attention. The ancients called it yi, Y-I, where I place my focus. That's the greatest gift you have and the most beautiful gift you give. Because where I place my focus, I am in love. You might not think of it that way, but think of the people around you. You only place focus on them because you love them. The ones that you complain about, you actually still have love for them or they wouldn't be around you. But you play some game that they're annoying or you have to have them around you. See what we do to ourselves? If you can understand that where you place your focus is love, oh my goodness, I have a responsibility now that what's in my world, I am holding in a loving space. And if it annoys me, if it frustrates me, if it hurts me, wow, I better take a look at that and see why that emotion or that perspective hasn't been brought past the pericardium, hasn't been brought deep into my heart for transformation. In this course, we may talk about somewhere about how every one of our emotions, that's a survival-based emotion like anger or grief or fear, is outside of the heart resonance space. And when anger is brought into heart space, it is transformed into discernment. When fear is brought into heart space, it's transformed into intuition. When grief is brought into heart space, it's transformed into empathy. When worry is brought into heart space, it's transformed into clarity. You see how the heart works? The heart is our alchemical engine. It's an amazing transformational tool that we have and we never put to use because we've anthropomorphized it. We've made our heart look just like everything else in the world, and it's not. It's the one thing that's not. So why associate it with all these temporal, remember space and time, things? Why put it in a place of limitations when it's your core pathway to unlimited access to the Akasha, to true love and focus, and to transformation? So I ask you to consider these ideas, maybe rethink the way you look at love, rethink the way you look at heart, and start to feel what it means to be in heart presence. What does it mean to shift the way you have been trapping your heart into its limitations? You've been conditioned. The world has conditioned all of us. Fear does that. Okay? Fear is the obverse of intuition, and it's the intuitive mind that is expressed through the heart. So it all makes sense. So I trust you will enjoy this journey and listen to the various concepts that are shared through the lessons. And look at healing. Look at the heart chi. Start to think about how heart can be remapped in your everyday life, and watch things shift. And watch the way you change your view of love and heart and the gift that you give everyone in your life when you can come into this place of heart resonance presence. Activate your intuitive mind and tap into this incredible infinite consciousness that is expressing itself through you with every breath. Peace.